Well, hello everybody. I'm John,
Hey,
and that's Kaylin, and we're the Questers too. This is baseball
as
as
Personal History Volume 3.
and there'll be more other volumes. So we're just going to do this over the baseball season, and then we'll start with football, basketball, and hockey. But since it's summer, baseball seems a little bit more appropriate at this time. Um, The first picture is actually the very first picture in the very first game where I came up with the idea of the quest. The quest was originally just to see baseball, all the baseball teams.
It's similar to a bucket list, but it's baseball style.
So, this picture was done, I think, August of 2003. So Kaylin was almost two, not quite two at this point. So I actually scratched it, almost one. And as you can see by the picture, this player, I mean, shortly thereafter, this player that you see, and I believe that's San Bernardino 66ers, came over and gave Kalen a ball. And ever since that point, Kalen has really enjoyed baseball. The ticket that you see actually is when we came back about a year later, and just where we started. So Lake Elsinore is actually a decent stadium. I mean, there isn't really a bad sight line, etc. Um, and it is sort of out of the way because it really isn't near much of anything. Although Lake Elsinore does have a personal history. My great grandfather and Kaylin's great great grandfather used to have a fishing business there, but when Lake Elsinore used to be a decent sized lake. But also too is that Lake Elsinore during the silent film era was actually sort of the hideaway for Hollywood stars. Bela Lugosi used to have a house in the area, and if I'm not mistaken, the house is still there. But it could have been torn down. I know that it had been boarded up, etc. The next game was actually the High Desert Mavericks, and unfortunately, it was the last baseball game that Ken and I spent with his great grandmother. So, but it also the one of the last games we saw in the California League for a while, because shortly after this we moved to Minnesota, and High Desert's actually again one of especially with the Cal League, some of the teams are really far few between. It usually takes, I wouldn't recommend trying to do, two different Cal League games in say there's an afternoon game and sort of an evening game, etc. They're too far apart and it's not really worth the time. But High Desert Mavericks actually sort of, out of the city or was at that time. And, it's not too bad of a place to actually see a game. So it does get hot up there. As you can see, we're sitting in the shade, etc., and it was probably best that we did. Now, the next game um, was actually in North Dakota, at Fargo, North Dakota. And the reason we went to this game was is I wanted to see where Mickey Mantle, not Mickey Mantle, sorry, Roger Maris grew up and was raised. We got to see at this point Roger Maris's uh, museum, which is in a sort of a shopping mall. But at that time I didn't take many pictures of it. But Roger Maris did play, I believe, for Fargo Moorhead. I don't remember the name of the team, but I believe that he did play at the stadium at one point in his career. Um, Shortly after that, we went to Sioux Falls Canaries. I think they're called something else at this point, but Sioux Falls Canaries or Sioux Falls is the probably and to this day still has the best hot dog or sort of brat slash hot dog in any of the major minor leagues. Um, Excellent. It was a spicy sort of brat that I had and was absolutely phenomenal. I definitely, you get out to Sioux Falls, which most people don't. I definitely recommend having that. I can't remember what the name was because it's several years ago. I
Brought
definitely,
hot dog.
yeah, something like that. I definitely recommend having, sort of the specialty. Um, food of that stadium. And I think at this point, once I went to Sioux Falls, I made a decision to have sort of the specialty food item at that particular stadium. I mean, we all have, all the stadiums have a particular, most stadiums have a particular food item that's particular for that stadium. Pittsburgh has it, Philadelphia has it, DC has it. Even though there might be a local establishment there. I think like in DC, Washington, the Nationals has the Chili Bowl or something like that. I
Yeah, the
can't.
chili bowl.
Yeah. So that's Sioux Falls. Now the next one was actually the St. Paul Saints, which is actually one of the oldest minor league teams. St. Paul Saints have been in sort of existence for several years, if I'm not mistaken, since the 50s or 40s, if not sooner. I don't know the whole history. People can give me a comment or subscribe to us to give us a little bit more information about it. But what was really cool about the St. Paul Saints game was it was actually, I think, towards the inner part of the season, and they were having like grab bag day. So you could basically all the giveaway items that weren't given away at the game, you could take as many as you could possibly carry in a bag and take it with you. So we got a couple of bobbleheads, and among other things, probably small mini bats, etc. Um, but with the St. Paul Saints, it's an older stadium. It's near the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. So it's an older stadium. I know that they're trying to get a new stadium, and I think that if I remember correctly, the seats weren't all that comfortable. They were bench seats. So, probably St. Paul, I think, definitely deserves another stadium. That's it for this episode. We'll have some more of the baseball's personal history here in a couple weeks. All right, say goodbye.
Bye.